Hi, Neil.
Hi, how are you?
Good. It's been a little while.
I mean, kinda. Not really that long.
Not that long, but it seems long because I'm used to seeing you like every week.
Yeah. I guess it's been like 2 weeks, a week and a half.
Twice as long as it's ever been in the past half a year.
That's true.
All right, rad. Well, we have a special episode for everybody today because we'll get more into it. But Neil, I'll let you say it yourself.
I am going to be moving on from the podcast, unfortunately.
This is goodbye for now.
But also fortunately, because the only reason I'm doing it is just because life has become overwhelming in a great way, and I really feel like the only time or reason I would want to do something like this is if I could fully put my whole heart, my whole soul into it and really give everything that it deserves. And I just can't do that with everything that we have going on.
Hey, respect. It takes like the right person to notice that too, because I was like, well, I'm bummed he's leaving, but the other options are Neil does this thing till he hates it and leaves in like a whirlwind of like, I can't do this. Or Neil does this thing and isn't invested in it. And then I have to be like, hey, Neil, you can't, like, this isn't working. And that's not a good reality either. So this is the best reality if something isn't working for somebody, to notice it themselves and then bring it to the other person's attention and then move on mutually.
I figure that it's like, we're really good friends. And like we always said, that's first, like friendship is first. And I never wanted this to be a negative. I think it is a really big positive. It's taught me so much about myself. It's taught me so much about the industry. I've gotten to talk to and interview some amazing people because of it. And I want it to be that still in my head, and I don't want it to get to, like you said, it's a negative. I never want it to be that. And life was just starting to get overwhelming, and I had to really focus on what was important to me. Not that this isn't, it's just, I physically only have 24 hours in a day, and this was like the 25th hour for me. And I really just like didn't want it to be that. And
you have to sleep.
Yeah. It's like, I can't like give away my baby, she has to kind of like, you know what I mean? It's like the other things just have to continue to happen. And this is unfortunately the thing that I feel like if I'm not able to give it 100%, just can't do it. So
Mary like walks into a room and you're just sitting down with Amelia having like a serious conversation. You're like, look, I know you have to eat today, but I have a podcast.
You have to go into the wilderness and forage your own food.
You're going to have to figure it out for yourself.
Yeah. All right. Use the skills I taught you. You'll be fine. You can't walk. It's fine. I mean, that's something you're going to have to figure out, but
you're my daughter.
Yeah. You're going to be fine.
I believe in you. Okay. Well, before we get into more of like the deepness of that, even though I think we did a pretty good job right there, I was hoping we could get you for just a few Q&A from the Patreon, a little send-off Q&A discussions.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, I'll ask them. We'll both answer. So this question is from Kayla. Could you talk a little bit about at what point different crew members are typically hired for tours? Is it once the tour dates have been announced? Are they usually already in place? And this is perfect because like I don't know when you guys are touring again, but COVID's over. I'm sure you're going to have a tour more likely in the future than, it's been in the past year and a half. So when you're gearing up to do that eventually, like when do you guys start getting your crew?
I think that there's like core crew members that are just there, like you have your backline techs and people that are just in that crew, your sound guy, your guitar techs, drum tech, tour manager.
Your friends.
The tour can't happen without those people, like even doing the things that it takes to put things together. So they're really brought on pretty much immediately once the idea of touring is brought up. And then as you understand what the needs are for the tour, that's when you start to look at the other parts of your situation, like lighting, video.
Are we having fire?
All of those things, and it's more of a what is needed for what run you're going to go on. Like if you're going to go on a headlining run, you're going to need probably a pretty extensive crew. You're going to have a lot of production. You're going to have video or whatever. You got to go through and hire all the people for all those positions. But if you're going to go on like a festival run, or you're like, for example, the first little bit of touring that we have coming back is in September, and it's all festivals. And so that's going to be a pretty stripped back.
Because you're flying probably, or...
Yeah, we're going to be flying into these dates, and it's really not going to be an insane production. It's going to be like 3 or 4 shows in 1 month. And so we're not going to really need like a super extensive crew. And so to go into those dates, we just have our core crew, and we've made sure that everyone's available and kind of brought everyone back on. And yeah, that's kind of how it works. it's what's needed. And then as those things get set up and you understand what is needed for the tour, then you start to bring in the people that are able to do those jobs.
And just to clarify, if a tour is announced, generally, I would say COVID's kind of become an exception because people are announcing a lot farther in advance. But if a tour is generally announced, that is kind of too late, right? For the most part, like, hey, we've booked most of these people, assuming it's, 2 months out or something like that. In conclusion, Kayla, yes, people are hired. If you see a tour announcement and then reach out to be hired for it, maybe as a photographer or whatever, it's probably too late, but you can still try. But that's why you got to get on the industry. You got to know the people.
I was going to say, I don't know. It's really weird because we've hired people a week before the tour started.
Yeah.
Like, not because that's like the right thing to do or it's professional, but like it's because it was out of necessity. It was like, hey, fuck. All right, tours, we need to take care of this.
We need a carpenter.
Yeah. And sometimes, you can't control those things. And so I think putting yourself on someone's radar is not necessarily a bad thing, but don't expect much from it.
Yeah.
It's like go into it with an open mind, be hopeful, but understand that they might not even write back to you because it is a lot of times ridiculous that people still need to hire someone like a week out or whatever,
Yeah.
But it does happen.
All right, Alon, who or when do you do your laundry? Do you bring towels with you?
I don't bring towels.
Venues have there's towels at every venue you go to for everything.
A lot of times, like, that's an expense in a show, like towels.
Oh, you pay for them?
Yeah, I mean, either you pay to get them laundered or you pay to use them or you pay for new ones. It's not something that people really know about, but it is definitely an expense that's worked into a lot of the contracts.
Because there's always show towels, and those are like little white ones that they go on stage and stuff. So worst case scenario, if you're like, wow, I really can't find a body size towel, 3 show towels will do.
Yeah, I never brought a towel, never once. It's really weird. Like sometimes I get super fucking lazy on tour, and I will rather just buy new clothes than do laundry, or I will only. Like doing laundry for me is like kind of a hassle because I'm like super particular about my shirts have to be hung up to dry and not like dried in a dryer. Cause like I don't want them to shrink and I don't want them to like kind of like fall apart and whatever.
They're
and
valuable.
Like, I'm like, this is my favorite shirt. I need to like get as much use out of it as I can, whatever. Doing laundry for me is a fucking task. And on the road, that's really annoying. So like a lot of times I'll just do underwear and socks and I'll just wash those. And I won't wash my t-shirts. And if I run out of t-shirts, then I'll just buy a new one or whatever. And yeah, I don't know. I'm just there's always laundry at venues. There's always laundry at hotels. You can get wash, dry, fold services day of show with 1 day turnaround. There's a lot of options that you can do.
And to fill in some blanks here, Neil has a dedicated pair of stage clothes for the most part. So it's not like he's wearing dirty clothes every day. Well, he is kind of on stage, but the stage clothes go in an area, then they come out the next day and somebody might wash them for him once in a while, or, they'll just take care of everybody's stage clothes, or they'll spray them down with alcohol or something. Didn't they used to spray them down with vodka? Yeah.
So it kills the bacteria and shit. Like in the beginning of our career, I thought it was like cool, or there was like some kind of stigma to like never wash your stage clothes. And like Knocked Loose,
This is rock and roll.
They don't wash their stage clothes. It's fucking gross.
Oh, yeah. I remember that because it smelled sometimes.
Well, we had to be like, I think I even felt uncomfortable being like, hey, can you guys like, well, it wasn't me. It was like someone in our crew or whatever. But it got to be so bad smelling that you were just like, yo, like you guys got to do something with that. Like that's
we
not
gotta
good.
live here together. So we can smell that.
Yeah.
And no hate on Knocked Loose. Everybody's gone through that. Everybody. And some people, like it's not like a specific thing to their band. That was just.
Well, sometimes it's your thing, It's like your like superstition. You don't wash the stage clothes, You got to keep the juju on there.
Yeah.
Keep something on there. I don't know what. It smells really bad, whatever it is.
Oh, man. And for crew, how it works for us is like sometimes on off days, you can go do your laundry, or sometimes they'll have like laundry runs where they'll be like, hey, if you have laundry to do, put your bag here, put $20 on top of it, and we'll go wash it for you today. But you're taking some risks. Some socks might not come back. Stuff might come back different colors. So like Neil said, if you have important clothing, maybe just wash it yourself.
Yeah, like I will never let someone else wash a white item of clothing of mine. I would say 9 times out of 10, they're coming back red or pink or some weird color tinted to them where they used to be white and they're not anymore. And you can't complain because you're like, someone just did this for me, but also fuck.
You did the thing wrong.
You just don't do it. And if you're wearing white on tour, you're doing it wrong. You got to like wear black. It's like just kind of how it is.
Yeah.
Stage blacks.
Yeah. This is from Elon as well. How do you back up your photos? I usually back it up on both a hard drive and then online and cloud service, but during tour, I believe that's not possible online. Yeah, if you back your stuff up online, people like Neil who are in the band will be very upset with your internet usage.
I don't care.
All right, Neil doesn't care. But generally, you don't want to take over the Wi-Fi too much. So 2 hard drives, one in your bunk, one in your bag. Back them up in separate places. So if you lose one thing, it's there. Doesn't need to be more complicated than that. Just back them up twice.
Yeah. Back That Thing Up by Juvenile. That should be a thing that you do for your photographer friends is make a Juvenile shirt that says Back That Thing Up.
But it's just for a hard drive photo?
Yeah, it's for like photographers that like you should just back it up. It's like a sticker for your hard drive.
Back it up.
I'll send you an image that you should use to create a sticker. It's like classic rap imagery. It'd be awesome.
Send it to me and then I'll make it and just send it to photographer friends.
Yeah, it'd be badass. Or anyone that uses a lot of data, like all of music production, they have hard drives and shit they should back up as well.
Any nerd. Yeah. Nerd life. Okay. This is from Ava, and Ava wants to know if something happens on tour to a crew member, maybe a health emergency or a family emergency, and they are no longer able to tour, what does the band, Neil, in your position, do to replace that crew member? How do you go about finding a new person?
You immediately call your management and you work to figure out a strategy to minimize the impact that is felt from that crew member not being able to be a part of the tour. So depending on where you're at in the world, you know, you could be touring in Australia, you could be touring in South America, you could be touring Europe, US, whatever. And each territory has its own unique thing that you're going to have to overcome. Like, you know, if you're in this has happened to us. So we were in South America and the person that we hired to go on tour with us was completely incompetent as a guitar tech. And I basically ended up guitar teching for the whole right side of the stage.
Crazy.
And we couldn't replace him because, you know, flights are insanely expensive. Booking for another hotel, blah, 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 getting someone out last minute. It just didn't make sense. And so we just had to deal with it. And you just deal with it. Like a lot of times in those situations, everyone on the crew will kind of come together to kind of pick up slack where it's possible within their own job. And then you're just going to work as hard and as diligently as possible to kind of reach out to everyone you know to fill that spot, fill the gap, you know?
Teamwork.
Yeah. If you're in like Europe or something like that, you'll hit up your European agent and be like, hey, we're in need of this. Is there anyone in the territory that has this experience that's able to come out and kind of fill this spot? And then if the answer is yes, you move to get them on board. And if the answer is no, you hit up everyone else in your contact list to try and figure it out. So it's really just about making it work, even though it kind of sucks. But everyone has to understand that because the show must go on. Yeah,
and you just use your network, you use your resources. So yeah, they're not sending out like a post, like any random person come do this. They're just finding people within their network for the most part that makes sense. Like you said, in a cost efficient, time efficient. If you're in South America, maybe just do it yourself. Respect to you for just doing it. I mean, I know you didn't have a choice, but I guess you did. You could lose a lot of money.
It was gnarly. I knew the guy was not competent of being a guitar tech when he asked me how to plug in a tuner for a guitar on the first day.
Hey, how do I change a lens?
I said, what? I thought he was joking. I was like, yeah. Yeah, what? All right. And he goes, no, seriously, how do you plug this in?
Your impression right now is so good.
I like looked at him and I'm like, what do you mean? How do you just plug it in? Yeah. What do you mean? How do you do it?
This is a fundamental basic skill that everybody who does anything related to this is capable of doing.
Like if I went to my mom and I was like, hey, can you plug this guitar tuner in? And she would just do it. And she would know. And she's not a guitar player. She didn't like grow up around it. She just would be like, oh yeah, well it says in, so I'll put this cable here. There's only 2 holes.
I've never owned a Tesla, but I could charge it. You know what I mean?
If you didn't get it right the first time, the second time you tried it, it would be correct because there's only 2 options. I just was like blown away by like.
You're 50% right the first time and then you're 100% right the second time. That's a pretty good deal.
Yeah. The thing that was crazy is the person came highly recommended from another person that was very well respected in the touring industry.
That other person probably never heard the end of that one.
Well, I mean, actually, I never talked to him about it after that. Like he just apologized and then we moved on.
Let's call him right now.
It was crazy. It was. And then the other crazy thing about it is we were playing on stage with this other band, and he comes up. He's like, Neil, what's up, man? I'm like, holy shit, what's up? I'm like, what are you doing here? How are you backstage? And
I live here. This is my home.
No, he was the tour manager for one of the headlining bands that was like this legacy band, like massive touring artist.
You can't tell us who it is. It wouldn't be correct, or could you?
I could tell you the band, but like,
Yeah,
I just don't think that. And apparently he's done a good job. The band was Offspring.
Oh, nice.
So he was tour managing or tour managing assistant, one of the two, for Offspring at this like massive radio festival. And he just like comes up. He's like, hey man, what's up? I'm like, what's up? What are you doing? And he's just like, yeah, I'm just been, been tour managing Offspring. And I'm like, in my mind, I'm like,
no way.
How the fuck did you get from how do I plug in a guitar tuner to tour managing Offspring in like, it wasn't even that long. It was probably like 4 years or something. But
that's wild.
Yeah, he just was doing the wrong job in the beginning, and he wanted so badly to be a part of touring that he just accepted it. He accepted the job. It was literally fake it till you make it. He got there and he fucking didn't make it work in South America. Someone in our crew almost tried to fight him because it was just so frustrating with the fact that he was there taking up space but could not do his job even in the slightest.
In conclusion, it's okay to fake it till you make it, but you could have physical repercussions if you really fuck up.
Some guy named Country that works also for the band might try to fight you.
My name's Country. I will destroy you. I hope that he listens to this podcast and then hits us up and goes, I'm sorry.
Well, he knows. And the thing is like, obviously I talked to him since then and he's like, we're like, cool. We just knew that he was in over his head and like, obviously we're all capable of forgiving him because we're able to make the show happen. And it was really hard. And we actually got stuck. It was the time, I don't know if you remember this, but it was the time.
You told me about it on podcast, I think. Yeah, you got like volcanoes
Yeah, there was a volcano in Chile and we got stuck in Argentina for like an extra 6 days. And he was just there with us. And so he was like going through this whole ordeal, but like he was just stuck with us. And so he knew everyone was like mad at him and upset with him. And he was just stuck there.
I will say one of the weirdest things on tour is when somebody's getting let go or fired and maybe they don't know yet, or there's like some time where they're still on tour before they can go home. Like maybe they have to fly out the next day or something like that. And it's a really uncomfortable thing. And I've never, like, I haven't handled it in a while. Actually, I haven't handled it maybe for 6 years. So I'd probably handle it so much better now. But thinking back to it, I'm like, you just feel so bad.
Yeah.
Like, damn.
Well, I mean, then I didn't feel bad at all. I was really upset with him.
This is extreme. And you're the person who immediately is affected by it.
It was like the first day, like going to set up for a festival. He's like, sometimes when you have crew and they're new, you have to like kind of run through everything with them, kind of get them familiar quickly with your setup and what you hope to achieve working together. And you have to do that pretty quickly. And a lot of times they come in with a general knowledge of what they're doing. Mm-hmm. And it's really easy to kind of pick up things really quickly. You kind of go over only the weird things. You're like, hey, on this third song, I really want you to hand me the guitar, but I want you to do it in this certain way. And I want you to mute the guitar before you give it to me, whatever. There's like just little weird things that you would tell them.
Yeah, the unique things that are out of the normal.
Yeah, they're like, oh, I'm a guitar tech. I've worked for all these people. I can do the rest of this stuff. And I knew immediately when he asked me that question, he's like, how do I plug this in? I was just like, oh, fuck. We're fucked. And it was immediate. I'm just like, we're fucked.
Damn. But you made it out alive. Yeah. No volcanoes scorched you.
Yeah.
That sums up our questions for today. Thank you to our Patreons for those questions. We appreciate it. I think we do a pretty good job answering them because we only got a few this time. And I'm like, all right, we just answered all your questions before you knew how to ask them. But on that note, I have some questions for you because when we were talking about doing this, I was like, Neil, we got to do one last podcast because the last thing I want people to think is that for some reason, Neil and I aren't friends or like something bad happened, because nothing bad happened. No. Only good things are happening.
Yeah.
And
like too many good things. And it's just like, fuck.
And we kind of like when we started, I think we're kind of in agreement that like, look, this is something that I'm really into and you're joining me for. But if you have to leave at some point, it's not a huge deal. I mean, it's a huge deal. It means something to me that you're leaving because obviously I value you, but we knew that it was a possibility, and it's not like we're doing this together inevitably, So that, at least That was our goal. Like, that was my goal when I started. I was like, let's just do this together and learn. What were your goals when you started the podcast? Like, going into it, when I asked you, what were you hoping to get out of it?
I don't know. I really enjoy podcasts, and I hoped to learn how to be a better speaker. I hope to learn how to be a better interviewer and get better at asking questions, and just for everyday life, because I think that that's a really valuable skill, to be a good conversationalist. And I'd like to kind of get better at that just for my own personal well-being. I don't know, whatever. But that was kind of one of the goals. And then to meet people, to learn a lot about something that is really, really important to me, like touring, and then also just kind of be an asset to a whole new generation of people coming into the space, and kind of allow people to enter into something that was really hard for me to do, with some insight and a little bit of a guide and a little bit of a, hey, this can be really good and it's really fun to do and it's awesome and you can make some lifelong friends and family. And as long as you kind of avoid these things, which I had to learn the hard way, and a lot of people from our generation had to learn the hard way, and hopefully we could offer some insight and kind of limit those interactions and make them a little bit easier for people in the new generation.
Yeah, it's like, just because it was so hard for us doesn't have to be that way. You know,
Right.
and they'll still get the same thing out of it. The journey can be just as rewarding without being so taxing.
Like when I beat Ocarina of Time using the guidebook, like it was still as satisfying for me.
Yes.
You know, maybe not. Maybe it's a little more satisfying when I beat it the first time without the guide. But then when I went back and I did all the fun stuff in the guide, I was like, this is still really fucking fun. And I loved it just the same as whenever I first beat it.
That's a good analogy. I relate heavily.
Yeah, it's like I think that like in this world, like you can still gain a lot of it from doing it yourself and without this podcast, but also it's going to be a lot more smooth, and you're going to have a lot more like when things start happening, you're like, oh yeah, I can do this, or this is what they were talking about, and I understand how to handle this. So
one of the people in the podcast was like, hey, I went to a show and I was shooting it, and I talked to a merch person that was working, and they were impressed about like how much I understood and knew, and I was able to kind of talk with them because I understood their job. And he's like, it was great. And I've never been on tour, but I could talk the talk. And I was like, dude, that is so cool to hear.
You know what is really cool? And I just realized it by what you just said. We are making it easier for people to have conversations that are already in the industry, because the people that are coming and asking them questions we're giving them the right questions to ask.
Yeah.
And it's not wasting their time. It's not like, oh God, what are you even talking about? Is there a fucking jacuzzi in the backstage with fucking...
Yes, if you're in North Carolina.
Yeah, of course there is. Don't ask questions like that.
No, it's a good point. It makes it easier on both ends. And hopefully our reach continues to get bigger and help in more ways.
Yeah, I think it's a really cool thing. And just to kind of like reiterate, this is just something special. And then the circumstances really allowed for this to happen. You know, we were all locked down, trying to be responsible and kind of letting this COVID thing be handled correctly rather than being a problem. And it gave us time to really get into this and talk and have interviews with real good people with great insight in this industry. And so,
well, yeah, thank you. I know that you said you were trying to be a better interviewer, and I actually learned a lot just from seeing, and outside of the podcast, we definitely talked a little bit about our approach or how we want to go into these different conversations. And I'm definitely a little more mathematical and you're a little more, conversation. And it really helped me understand what it's like to come from a whole nother direction or a whole nother outlook into the conversation with the same goal. And I learned a lot just from doing it with you. So even though like 32 episodes is pretty good, like that's more than half a year. So thank you. It's like 7 months. Thanks for doing it for 7. Thank you. I just really appreciate you doing this. I know how busy you were, and I know that every episode was, you pushing yourself to the limit.
It was fun. I enjoyed it.
Hell yeah.
32 hours. It's like a full season of a television show that...
It's a long time.
I mean, I've watched like 32 hours of Breaking Bad in like a day and a half. So it's really not that much.
I watched 32 hours of Breaking Bad in 24 hours.
That's what I mean. It's like we can fast forward this Fly episode. It's bullshit. Whatever. You can like...
The writer's strike episode. God, that was a bad episode.
Some of them are just like, I'm like, really, guys? Like, why did
that show is so good? Are you a Better Call Saul guy yet? Have you watched it? No,
I've never watched it. Just because I liked Breaking Bad so much that I didn't want to even...
Better Call Saul is very good. I would say it's on the same level as Breaking Bad with a different storyline, like definitely a different rhythm, a little bit slower. Just as beautiful though. So beautifully shot.
Have you seen the meme where it's like Bryan Cranston with like snake bite piercings and like a swoop, and it says, I want to break you down so badly. It's
I
like
just want to break you down so badly.
and he's like
Sunday?
it's his emo phase.
Oh man, I got to get on that. No, I haven't, but I'm out of the loop.
One of my biggest pet peeves is like explaining a meme when it's like just so easy to just like show it.
Just
and like
Google
I
it.
try really hard to explain. I'm like, yeah, it's like, the picture, and it's like not even funny because of how I said it, but
You need to see it. I'll see it right after this and I'll laugh, and then I'll send you a video of me laughing.
join our Patreon and you'll get a link to the Discord when you do, and we'll put the meme in the Discord so that you all can laugh at it afterwards.
People are like listening to the podcast. They're like, oh, I was never going to sign up for the Patreon before, but now that there's a,
Damn, that meme sounds really funny, and I would like to see it.
yeah, I need to get on there. Wow.
Hey, incentives, let's go.
We're finishing up here in the next 15 or so minutes, but I was wondering what do you have coming up other than the obvious? Like what's on the plate for Neil that's happening after this?
Well, my daughter is 6 months old, and we have no family around to help with her, which is like really the main.
It's a thing.
It's the main thing that really takes up a lot of time.
Yeah.
And it's really taxing because it's like, you want to give everything to this little human and nurture them, and you don't want anything to be like negative for them. So like, I have no problem sacrificing everything in my life to make sure she's good. So it's really that. And also being a good husband, to Mary, because she has a lot going on as well, and kind of allowing her to really push herself in the business and as a chef, and making sure that she feels good just as a human being, being a good partner, making sure we have time together, making sure she has time to herself. So she's not like constantly being a mother or, a wife taking care of me and the house and whatever. And so just trying to get that balance down. And that's really what takes up a lot of time. And then also just being creative, like being in the studio, working on music, been doing some writing with people and just making this place exist, and then getting in shape, really taking time to take care of that COVID weight gain that happened.
Yes.
Getting back into a place where I feel good about myself mentally and physically. And then obviously A Day to Remember is going to be touring again. We just haven't announced it yet, but it's going to happen. It's definitely happening.
Yes.
And it's going to happen in 2021. So
Ooh, that's the year we're in.
that is, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be one thing if you're like, Adam, I can't do the podcast because my gambling addiction is just really taken to another level, and I need to, I need to do that. But you're like, hey, I need to be a father. I need to be a husband. I need to be a businessman, and I need to be there for the rest of my bandmates. It's like, oh, and the tier of priority, the things you've been working on for 5, 10, 15 years definitely trump the things that, we started in the past year.
Well, that's what I was saying is like, I still really enjoy this and I love doing it, but it's like, I only have 24 hours in a day. And this is like the thing that as I would prioritize it, it would start to suffer because I just don't have the time or the mental capacity to give it what it deserves. And I don't think that's fair to you or Connor or anyone that works on the show, because your time is important. And I think that like me kind of maybe showing up bummed one day or not showing up on time or blah, 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 because I'm trying to juggle all these other things. It's like, it's not fair. So yeah, that's really the only reason. And I still love you guys, and I still would be happy to be a part of it as much as I can. And
we'll get you back here for some special episodes.
Yeah.
We'll have to do something. I don't know what it'll be. Ask Neil this situation and then you solve it. Or we can just have, I don't know. Somebody hits me up. They're like, I would come on your podcast, but only if Neil was your co-host.
And I'd be like, no.
Well, I appreciate you.
Because that person doesn't deserve you, Adam.
Yeah, they don't deserve it. Hey, Neil, I did. Well, first, before I say something about myself, I want to say thank you so much for doing it for the time you did. I actually wanted to, I wrote you a poem.
Okay.
Is that okay?
I mean, absolutely.
Yes.
I think there's maybe only been like 4 people in my whole life that wrote me a poem.
I love writing people poems. They're always like bad good, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like they rhyme.
Okay. So you're one up on a lot of people.
All right. You ready?
Yeah.
Thanks for the 32 episodes. I enjoyed them so. I can't help but blame myself for letting you go. I acknowledge that it's not me or you. It's just where you're at in life. you know normal shit, band, restaurant, child, and you have a wife. But I think it's so cool that you did this for us. You showed up every week and you never made a buck. It's for that community we love and we put our all into, because we got to give them what no one gave to you or me. So thank you again for your time, knowledge, jokes, laughter, and fun. I hope to see you in real life soon. Shower shoeless, and we can eat vegan.
Okay. I love it.
Is that good?
It was really nice. I don't think I don't think that bad should be used to describe it at all.
Bad. Where did I say
You
bad?
said good, bad. You're like, yeah, it's like bad, good is what you said in the beginning. When you were describing the poem that you wrote for me, you go,
oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't think that bad should be used in that at all because it was just great.
Thank you. I like to think of it very Dr. Seussy. You know, it's like simple words, nothing too complicated, but it rhymes and it's from my heart. So no, I really mean it. I love writing poems for moments that mean a lot, and this moment meant a lot. And I don't know, it's really cool that you agreed to do this for as long as you did. And I look forward to having you on as a guest or as a co-host again whenever you're free. And, you know, maybe you get home from tour and you're like, wow, I just want to do a podcast.
It's an interesting situation to be in. You know, I think that if it was just me, you know, obviously I haven't really been streaming either. So I've kind of put that on hold as well.
Yeah. Another thing that started in the past few, month or year that, gets pushed down in the tier list for the other things. The other people rely on you for. The other things other people are relying on you for. These things, you're just yourself. Yeah.
And what I was saying is like a podcast with you guys, I never want to let you down. And I never want you to feel like I'm not taking this as seriously as you are. So for me, it was an easy decision to be like, oh, well, I haven't streamed for a while and I'm probably going to continue to take a break from it. Mm-hmm. With this, it's like, man, I really went back and forth on how I can make this work and if I can do it, because the idea of talking to you guys and being like, hey, or the idea of letting you down was really hard for me. Mm-hmm. And so it finally, when I did talk to you, I was like, what's even better is I would rather talk to you and allow you to have the courtesy that I hope to be given in a situation like this than to let it end shittily. Yeah. I just think that's so.
You did something super key, which was you're like, hey, we can finish up any episodes we've agreed to, which is really helpful for me because obviously you could be like, hey, I'm out. But I was like, hey, when you do this last interview, we need to do this other episode. You're like, oh yeah, sure, sign me up. And like, that's takes a lot, because even if you're like, maybe not mentally over something, but you're like, hey, I'm closing out this section of my life. It takes a lot to kind of jump back in that mind space and still put your all into it. Like, I know that you're not going to show up and be like Neil, who's no longer on the podcast. You're going to be Neil, who was on the podcast. Yeah. So I don't know. I've said it like 50 times, but I respect that a lot and appreciate it because you made my life a lot easier.
You're welcome.
New records out this year. Yeah.
Number one at Rock Radio right now. A day to remember. You're welcome. Go pick it up. Stream it everywhere.
I did my first 2 solo interviews yesterday, Neil.
Was it fun and hard and rewarding all at the same time?
Dude, I slept so well. Well, the first one was with 2 people. It was with Youngblood and his photographer, Tom. And it was awesome. But it was 2 people. So it was like, oh, even if I stop talking, like they'll kind of do their own thing. Mm-hmm. The second one was with Lindsay Sterling, and it was just us. And it was hard. Yeah. It was so hard, man.
Well,
I miss Neil.
You just have to talk. Like, and I know that sounds so dumb, but like, it's a conversation, like you'd be in real life. And it's like, I guess in real life, normally, like if it gets awkward for me, like I'll just be like, all right, well, I'm going to go to catering.
Take my camera out. Yeah.
All right. Well, whatever. See you later. I guess that's the only difference really. But like at the same time, it's just a conversation and you're friends with these people and you respect these people and you've obviously done your research, and it's like people are excited to hear you interview them and talk to them, and as excited and as nervous as you are, so are they. And that's probably why sometimes it feels so hard. Yeah. But you're great at this. And like I said before, you're going to be you're going to be more than fine doing it by yourself.
Well, I appreciate it, but I will still miss you. And thank you so much. I guess last question is, are you going to be wearing shower shoes after this, or are you sticking to the no shower shoes?
No, I'm never going to wear shower shoes.
Catch Neil on tour. If you want, bring some flip-flops with you to the show and throw them on stage just for him.
No, don't do that. I don't wear flip-flops. I don't do that. I'm not that kind of person. I'm not. And if you throw shoes at me, I'm going to see where they came from and I'm going to throw them right back at you. And I'm very good at throwing stuff.
I have good aim. I will vouch for this. Good at throwing things hard and accurate. You never want to have to play the Frisbee game with Neil in the dressing room. It hurts.
Well, not even the Frisbee game, like guitar picks. I can hit the sound guy accurately, like consistently, often.
It's true.
It's like, so if you're only like 8 feet away from me and you threw something at me, you're getting hit with 700 picks throughout the show, and it's just going to happen that way.
Yeah, I will say, if you ever see Neil flicking stuff on stage, it looks weird. It looks like he's just throwing his arm out, but he's throwing a guitar pick. That's technique, and it's going really far, and you don't even see it, and it hits you, and then it hurts.
But then afterwards, you get to keep it, so it's worth the pain.
Yeah. All right, cool. Well, Neil, goodbye for now. Thank you so much, and I look forward to the next time that we get to hang and obviously get to talk and to meet your daughter and to see your wife.
She's huge. She's big. She's so big for her age already. All right,
dude.
It's like we end it like this. We're like, okay, so
I don't know how else to end it. We're just like, all right. I mean, we're like saying goodbye, but we're not, right? Because we're just saying goodbye to the podcast. But I'm also just.
But like only even like for like it's only on a consistent basis. Like I'm still gonna come and be a part of it every once in a while. So
yeah,
it's really just like, it's not goodbye. It's just
farewell for now.
Yeah, exactly.
Take it away, Kevin.
Kevin, do it, fucker.